He thought he was finally safe. 31 years of night shifts, stacking freight, loading trucks, missing birthdays, missing dinners, missing half of what most people call a life. And then one morning he realized he'd be paying over $200 extra every single month for Medicare. Not for a year, not for a mistake, just ongoing, because he saved too well. Now, technically it's not forever. It gets reviewed every year. But standing there with that number in your hand, it sure feels like it is. I spent 40 years inside SSA, sitting on the other side of the desk, and I've seen thousands of these IRMAA letters, and I'm telling you, the look on a man's face when it clicks, it doesn't leave you. I saw this more times than I'm comfortable admitting, and honestly, it still bothers me. Carl Mendoza, Carlos, but nobody called him that unless it was official paperwork, was 74, still doing night shifts in Indianapolis, still wearing those steel-toed boots long after most guys his age had tapped out. Warehouse supervisor. The kind of man who double-checks everything because one mistake can cost somebody a finger or worse. That morning, 6:55, just before the shift wrapped, the dock lights were still buzzing overhead. That low electric hum, diesel hanging in the air. His clipboard tucked under his arm, gloves half off, fingers still blackened from grease that never really washes out. That's where it happened. He had the Medicare letter folded in one hand, RMD statement in the other. Both opened and closed so many times the creases were soft, almost tearing. I remember one guy, different name, same look, sat across from me years back, hands shaking, still smelling like diesel, papers so worn they barely stayed together. I keep thinking about him when I tell Carl's story. Carl leaned against the cold metal edge of the dock, flattening the RMD statement against his clipboard, pen scratching, numbers circled, rewritten, crossed out. This is where most people think they're just checking something, but it's not. It's where it turns. Because IRMAA, it doesn't care how you got there. It just looks at your income from 2 years back. And it doesn't slide up slowly. It jumps. You hit a number, and suddenly you're in a different payment. Base premium sits around $185, but once you're up near 200,000 single, 400 married, that's where it starts getting expensive. Fast. That's a difference north of $300 every month. Carl's number, it was sitting right there. His RMD, required minimum distribution from his IRA, pushed him straight past the highest bracket threshold. Not by a mile, just enough. And that's how it gets you. He ran the numbers again. I could almost hear the pen digging harder into the paper. I'm getting off track. But this matters, because what happened next, that's the moment most people either shut down or wake up.
I kept thinking I messed something up, like I missed a box or checked the wrong number. Something. I mean, I did everything the way they told us, right? Save, contribute, don't touch it early. And now I'm standing there, on a loading dock, doing the math like some idiot, realizing I just priced myself into paying more every month. I didn't even want to look at the number again. Felt like I'd done something wrong, just by trying to do it right.
He didn't move for a while after that. Trucks idling behind him, one of the younger guys calling out something about a late pallet. Carl didn't answer, just stood there, staring down at the numbers like they might rearrange themselves if he waited long enough. That's the thing about men like Carl. They don't panic loud. It goes quiet. I've seen that quiet. I've seen it across cheap desks with cold coffee sitting untouched, across stacks of forms people didn't fully understand, across years of doing exactly what they thought they were supposed to do. Let me tell you something I've seen too many times. It's not the big mistakes that cost people. It's the ones that feel like they shouldn't even be mistakes. Carl folded the Medicare letter again, slower this time, like he was trying to control something, anything. Then he went back to the numbers. He wrote out his income line by line. Pension, small one. IRA distribution. That was the problem. Social Security. He hadn't even started yet. Didn't matter. The RMD alone pushed him over for 2026. Once your income pushes past a few $100,000 depending on your filing status, you're in that highest tier, and the brackets step up along the way. Each step, more money every month. Carl wasn't rich, not even close, but his savings, The forced distribution made him look rich on paper, and paper is what Medicare uses. He flipped the page over, started again. Same result. I remember watching a man once do that exact same thing, recalculate 4 times, 5, like the answer might apologize and change. Carl's jaw tightened. You could see it from across the dock.
I kept thinking about my kids. That's the part that got me. I missed, I don't know, half their stuff growing up. Games, school things, whatever. Always working nights telling myself it was for them. And now I'm looking at this number thinking, what was that for? So I could get hit with an extra bill every month because I saved too much? It felt stupid. Like I played the whole thing wrong.
That's the moment right there. Not the math, not the letter. That feeling. That's what breaks people if they let it. He stood there longer than he should have. Shift ending, sky just starting to lighten. That gray-blue before sunrise, dock lights still on, making everything look harsher than it really is. Gloves back on, then off again. Couldn't settle. I wish I could say this always works out clean, but that wouldn't be honest. Some people just freeze there. They accept it, pay it, never question it again. Carl didn't, not right away anyway. He took that clipboard, same one he used every shift, and instead of putting it away, he clipped both papers to it. Medicare letter on top, RMD statement underneath. Then he started writing something different. Not just totals, not just income, timing. That's when things begin to shift. Because IRMAA isn't permanent if the numbers change. It's based on past income. And there are ways, legal, structured ways, to manage what shows up in that calculation going forward. But you have to catch it. You have to care enough to look at it, and you have to get past that feeling that you somehow deserved it. Carl didn't know any of that yet. Not really. All he knew was something felt off, and he wasn't ready to just accept it. He ran his thumb across the edge of the paper, left a faint black smear. Small thing, but I remember details like that, because that's usually where the fight starts. He wrote one word at the top of the page. Why? And that told me everything. So let me ask you something. Honest question. When you finally see a number like that staring back at you, do you stop there and accept it? Or do you start asking why it even happened to you in the first place?
I didn't tell my wife right away. That's the part I'm not proud of. I just folded the paper and stuck it in the truck. Drove home like nothing happened. She was in the kitchen, making coffee, asking how the shift went. And I just said, same as always. I couldn't say it out loud yet. Felt like if I did, it made it real. And I didn't have an answer for it.
I've seen that too, more than I'd like to admit. Men carrying numbers around in their pockets like they're something to be ashamed of. Like they did something wrong by trying to build a cushion for their family. Carl sat in his truck longer than usual that morning. Engine off, hands still on the wheel. That RMD statement sitting on the passenger seat, slightly curled now. He picked it up again, flattened it against the steering wheel this time. Same way he'd smooth out a damaged manifest before signing off on a load. That's his habit. Double check, confirm, no surprises. And right there, that's what saved him. He started mapping it out again, but this time slower. IRA balance, distribution amount, future projections. Because RMDs don't stop. They grow as percentages increase with age. Meaning if he did nothing, the problem doesn't stay flat. It gets worse. He didn't know the term MAGEU yet. Modified Adjusted Gross Income, the actual number Medicare uses to judge your premium. Didn't know about timing withdrawals across tax years, but he knew patterns. And he knew something about this pattern didn't sit right. That's when he made the call. Local SHIP office, State Health Insurance Assistance Program, free counseling. Most people don't even realize it exists. I've sent more people there than I can count. He wrote the number down on the back of that same sheet, ink bleeding slightly because his hands were still a little damp. That's the second time that doc routine showed up. Clipboard, paper, pen, same physical rhythm. That's what people don't understand. You don't need a brand new system. You use the one you already trust. A few days later, he sat across from a counselor. Papers laid out cleaner this time. Still creased, still worn. because once you see the full map, you realize you're not stuck. They walked through his full income picture, not just one line, everything. And that's where the shift really happened. First time he tried to run the numbers on his own after that, he still got it wrong, missed a line, counted something twice. That happens. More than people admit. You're just unplanned. Carl started to see it. Slowly. And I could see that same tightening in his jaw, but different now. Not panic, focus. So let me leave you with this before we move forward. If you found out today that your own savings could quietly push you into something like this, would you know where to even start fixing it? I've sat across enough tables to know that moment when a man realizes he's not trapped, just unprepared. It doesn't come with relief right away. It comes with more questions, more tension, because now you see the edges of the problem, and you understand it can grow if you ignore it. Carl walked out of that ship office with a yellow folder. Nothing fancy, just a basic folder with his name written across the tab in blue ink that had already started to smudge. Inside, copies of his income breakdown, notes from the counselor, and a few simple strategies circled, underlined twice. I saw this, more times than I'm comfortable admitting. And honestly, it still bothers me how simple some of these fixes can be, if you catch them early enough. He didn't rush home that day, didn't sit at the kitchen table, didn't open a laptop. He went back to what he trusted. Next shift. Same doc, same hour, just before the end when the noise drops a little and you can actually hear your own thoughts. 6:55 again. Clipboard out. Papers clipped tighter this time. Gloves off, folded and set beside him. That diesel smell still hanging low in the air, mixing with that early morning cold that creeps in through the open bay doors. He laid everything flat. Medicare letter, RMD statement, new notes from the counselor. Then he started writing again. But this time, it wasn't confusion, it was structure. He wrote out his modified adjusted gross income the way it had been explained to him. Every line accounted for. Pension, IRA distribution, a small side withdrawal he'd forgotten to include before. And right there, he saw it clearly. Not a mystery number, a controllable one. That's when we hit the second real turning point, because the counselor had shown him something most people overlook. He learned that if he sent a portion of his IRA withdrawal directly to a charity, it wouldn't count as his taxable income. Not a single cent. They call them qualified charitable distributions, QCDs. That matters. A lot. Now, it doesn't work for everyone. Age rules, limits. You've got to qualify. But for Carl, it was enough to move the needle, because IRMAA isn't about what you withdraw. It's about what shows up as income. Carl circled that line so hard the pen nearly tore the paper.
I just sat there staring at that one part. You're telling me I could have moved some of that money out differently? And it wouldn't have counted the same way? I kept thinking about all the times I just pulled from the account without asking anything. Just did it because it felt like the responsible thing. And now I'm realizing I didn't even know the rules I was playing under.
That's not ignorance, that's trust. And trust, when it gets shaken like that, it leaves a mark. Carl didn't waste time feeling sorry for himself, though. Not for long. He went back to the numbers, projected next year's RMD, adjusted withdrawals, potential QCD amounts. He even wrote out 2 columns, if I do nothing, and if I adjust. I watched people do this for decades. The ones who turn it around, they get physical with it. They don't just think it through. They write it, circle it, cross it out, make it real. His pen moved slower now, more deliberate. He started building something simple, not complicated, not some financial plan with 10 moving parts. Just a system. Every year, before distributions, before any large withdrawals, check the total, adjust early. And that's when something else came out, something he hadn't said yet.
I kept thinking about this one drawing my daughter made when she was little. I found it in a box a couple years back, me in a truck, but like smiling. And I remember thinking, that's not how it felt most nights. I was tired, always tired. But I told myself it was worth it. And sitting there with that paper, it hit me that I could lose part of what I built just because I didn't slow down and look at it right. That one stung.
Yeah, I've heard versions of that more times than I can count. The quiet trade-offs, the things people don't talk about, missed dinners, late nights, early mornings, all for stability. And then something like IRMAA shows up, and it feels like the system's taking a swing back at you. I've seen guys in that exact spot who never fixed it, just paid it, month after month. That stays with you. Carl didn't let it go that way. Over the next few weeks, he worked through it piece by piece, sat with the counselor again, confirmed numbers, asked questions he probably should have asked years earlier. And I'm not here to give you financial advice, but I will tell you what I've seen work. He timed his distributions differently, spread them where it made sense, started using QCDs to reduce what hit his income line, and most importantly, he stopped treating withdrawals like an afterthought. Everything had a reason now, everything had a check. By the time the next projection rolled around, his numbers had shifted enough to drop him out of that top IRMAA tier. Not all the way down to base, but far enough. That extra 200 plus every month? Gone, replaced with something manageable. But here's the part people don't always understand. Even when you fix it, it doesn't feel done. Carl still stands there some mornings, same dock, same light, same clipboard. And when a new Medicare notice comes in, his jaw still tightens a little before he opens it. That never fully goes away.
I don't trust it the same way anymore. That's the truth. I check everything now. Sometimes I check it twice, even when I know it's right, just to make sure I'm not missing something again. Every number, every letter. I keep it all clipped together like I do with manifests at work. It's not panic. It's just, I know what happens if I don't look. And I'm not going back to that feeling again. Not after everything it took to get here.
This story, it shows how timing his income differently helped Carlos Mendoza get out from under that IRMAA spike and remove that $200 monthly hit. Here's what I've learned after all these years. The biggest thing I want you to take away is this. Nothing about IRMAA is random. It feels that way when it hits you, but it's not. It's mechanical, predictable, which means it can be managed if you're willing to look at it early enough. I've sat across enough tables to know most people don't need a perfect plan. They need a repeatable one, something they trust, something they'll actually use. And Carl didn't build something new. He used what he already had, that doc routine, that checklist mindset. That's what carried him through. Here are a few things you can actually do. Real, physical steps. Not theory. 1. Take a clipboard. Doesn't matter if it's the same kind Carl used. And on the 15th of every month, sit down with it just like you would check a freight manifest. Write out 3 lines, your projected income, your expected IRA distributions, and your estimated Medicare impact. Exactly the way you checked loads before signing off. 2. Every Monday morning before you start your day, take your work gloves off, set them next to your paperwork, and review any planned withdrawals for the next quarter the same way you check trailer seals. Slow, deliberate, no rushing. 3. At the start of every calendar year, use a yellow legal pad and write out your full income picture, just as you did shift logs. Line by line, no skipping. Include pension, IRA, Social Security projections, all of it. 4. Before making any large withdrawal, sit down in your usual spot, truck, kitchen, wherever, and run it through your numbers exactly the way you double-checked weight limits before a load went out. If it pushes you over a threshold, stop and reassess. 5. Once every quarter, take all your documents, Medicare letters, tax forms, IRA statements, and clip them together the same way you organized doc paperwork. Keep them in one place, no loose pages. 6. And if something doesn't make sense, call your local SHIP counselor and sit down with them just like you'd walk a new guy through a loading process, step by step, no assumptions. If you're somewhere between 50 and 70 and this story hit close to home, leave a comment below. I read them and I try to answer as many as I can. We can figure out your situation together. This content is for educational purposes only and does not constitute financial, tax, or legal advice. Individual situations vary. Consult a qualified professional or your local SHIP counselor before making any decisions.